Wonderful. Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining me on this second taster class. My name is Bybreen. There are two people who I know. There's the wonderful Ruby and Karina. So what I'd love to know is who's in the room. If you want to share something about yourself, it could be something about your sign, it could be something completely different. If you want to give your name, you can. So I have a sense of who's in the room. Okay, so start here. Yes, go ahead.
So hello everyone, I'm Bansi. I'm an intuitive healer. I do tarot and oracle card readings as well. I'm the founder of Love, Light and Good Vibes, and I'm an Aries Sun, Pisces Moon, Taurus Rising.
I like the revelation. It was like, do I dare share the rising? So let me just take that. So that's why it's interesting. So you've got Aries Sun, Pisces
Moon, Taurus Rising.
Ascendant Taurus. Wonderful, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Karina.
A warm, loving, caring Capricorn.
Yay. Capricorn Sun. Your birthday is Capricorn?
8th
of July? January, yes. So that's fine. Actually, let me just put this on silent. Let's just put the phones on silent.
Oh, I'm Louise. So I'm Aries Sun.
Another fire! The fire sisters are in the house. Yes.
Yeah, Gemini rising, I think.
Okay, there's a think. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know your time of birth? Not that I would be able to tell from here. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you think you're...
Yeah.
So Louise, welcome Louise.
I'm Ruby, I'm Ruby James. I'm Taurus.
Sun.
Sun, I think it's at the sun's birthday, yeah. And I don't know what my rising or any of the other stuff is. So
I like that. And
Share
the other
something in
stuff.
common.
Yeah.
So it would really, because I don't understand about the rising sun and the
Okay.
bits, but I hear people talking about it all the time. And I do understand that I need to know my date, know my birth time
would be
which
really useful.
My mum can't remember, she had 8 of us and she just said,
It's like, yeah.
I just gave birth to you, so I don't know.
That's fine, because when I do like chart rectifications, there's a way that I can work out people's rising signs. So if you don't know your time of birth, it's not necessarily an impediment.
Okay.
Yeah, there's ways just by deduction, but not tonight. Okay, so that's fantastic. Welcome everybody. So as you know, in terms of the information that I sent, 3 taster sessions around the wonderful art and science of astrology. And because it's quite a dense subject, I just thought a way to start navigating just, some introductions about astrology is to look at the chart of famous people. So last week was Barack Obama. Oh, but it's on YouTube. I can go and have a look. Yes, so last week was Barack Obama, and it's all there for everyone to see. I was able to deduce Michelle through his chart without even looking at her chart. So we had a wonderful session. So what I do is this is a mandala, okay? A mandala, it's the moment of your first breath, and that's what gives you your rising sign, okay? So just imagine, the moment you took your first breath, where are the planets rising? And so hence the rising sign. And it's like the doorway to who you are. It's your front door. It's the face you give the world, hello, and it's the face that the world sees you. Sometimes when you're connecting with people and they say, no, I'm Scorpio, it could be that you're actually connecting with their rising sign and not their sun sign. So there's a saying that you are born into your rising sign the moment you took your first breath, and you grow into your sun sign. So astrology, does anyone have a definition of astrology? What do you think astrology is? Any ideas?
Right, I mean for me, it's like some sort of connection with the alignment with the stars and stuff like that.
Stuff like that.
Stuff like that.
Louise, what's stuff like that? What does it mean for you?
I would say it's a study of the influence of the planets and the stars on us, on
Perfect.
ourselves.
Yeah, that's it. So astronomers study the movement of the planets and everything in the celestial world. They're looking at, oh, that moved and that moved and that moved. Whereas astrologers, we don't do that. What we look at is the connection between the planets, which are known as aspects, and, as Louise has rightly pointed out, it's about the correlation of events that take place on planet Earth in line with the planet. So let me give you an example. Uranus was discovered in 1781 by William Herschel. He was a composer and astronomer. And at the time that Uranus was discovered, revolutions were taking place on planet Earth. So you had the American Revolution, you had the French Revolution, and you had the Industrial Revolution. And Uranus, which is pointed out by this sign, this image, it's where we are the rebel. It's where we need to be unique, distinctive, eccentric. We have to break free from convention. It's about innovation, invention, being distinctive and different. So, as Louise pointed out, it's the correlation of these planets that show up and what's taking place on planet Earth. And so, bringing that now down to an individual, this is the mandala. It's a snapshot of your psyche. It's about your inner template. It's about what it can highlight. Where are your glitches? We've all got them. What it does, it's a way to understand your psyche, your inner blueprint. It's a way to identify what your strengths are, weaknesses, potentialities, characteristics, blind spots, areas of growth and development, and indications of who you were in your past life. And if people don't believe in past lives, the way that it can be understood when we look at the South Node, you have the South Node and the North Node, and they're always in the opposite signs at exactly the same degree. The South Node is what you came into this world with, all your fantastic gifts and strengths, but it's also your comfort zone. Hence why, as human beings, we generally find it difficult to change. You know, we have to make a conscious decision to change because it's comfortable being in our South Node. Growth takes place through the North Node. Okay? So, given that we all have this mandala, we all have this sense of significance, it's really the finger pointing at each and every one of us. And it's about, as I say, potentialities. Who could we become when we become more conscious? Another way of describing the mandala is about bringing its unconscious behaviours. We don't have to think about it, it's deeply rooted within us. And the exploration of astrology is the recognition of how one understands this unconsciousness and bringing it to consciousness. And it's the journey from the unconscious to the conscious that enables us to say, okay, I can stop getting in my own way. So when Ruby said it's about the stars and all that stuff is about how do we actually activate our inner compass. This is the world of astrology. And as an astrologer, I teach people to reconnect the dots of their soul so that they can go forward and make conscious choices to live into a transformative narrative to enable them to be authentic and soulful. That's my role. That's my self-defined role as an astrologer. We have cautionary tales everywhere. We see them and people are there's a disconnect. Or when people are going through transition, who am I? You know, that kind of fundamental question, the existential questions about what's my place here on planet Earth? What am I meant to be doing? You know, we've all had this concrete jacket put on us. You know, we were born, our parents told us whatever our parents told us. We either agreed with them or we didn't. We rebelled. Yes, I like rebellion. And then we find we're just stuck in these places and we just do it because it's convention or maybe it's expected of us or maybe we don't want to let people down. And hence the disconnect. And what we're seeing is people trying to navigate themselves back to themselves. Astrology is one mere tool that can enable people to do this. And because it's about your inner blueprint, what it does when you bring consciousness to it, you can see your glitches. That's why I get in my own way. Okay, now that I know that, what am I now going to choose to navigate away from it? Or do I go back to my south node because it's nice and cozy, comfortable? Okay? So that gives you a thumbnail sketch of astrology, the power of it. Yes, go ahead.
So does this work, so does astrology, looking at a birth chart, basically look into your karma and the akasha?
Yes, so karma, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So if we look at these 2 points, the south node and the north node, a description is the south node is your karma and the north node is your dharma. The distinction being karma, one way to understand it is cause and effect. You know, the causes that we have contributed towards in previous lifetimes is known as karma. The idea for evolutionary growth in this lifetime is through the north node. Invariably, we rely on the south node because we don't want to break free to grow into who we are meant to be, where we can really breathe, but really be, so that we live out the Dharma.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Great. Any questions before I open the chart?
How many lives back?
Well, that's an interesting one.
Do you think?
I don't want to give you a figure because I don't know and I don't want to mislead. So, 2 ways that we can understand this. Past lives could be very generational, and or in the early part of this life is the south node. So let's say the first half of your life, stepping on the paper, we've developed and acquired these skills, things that have come quite naturally to us. And then we get to the first Saturn return, which is usually between 28 and 30. Saturn, which is represented in this chart here, Saturn is the teacher. Saturn can bring you some brutal lessons, as I learned myself when I went through my Saturn return. It was very unforgiving. But it's the teacher. It teaches us to be responsible, aware, its structure, its boundaries, its limitations. And actually limitations sometimes can be very good. At other times, how conscious are you of your own limitations? Hence, do you get in your own way? Okay? So, what I wanted to introduce to you all is the mandala, and to break down astrology through the chart of this famous person. And the way that we're going to navigate this person's chart is I'm going to ask you questions or just plant seeds or throw out some ideas. And it's for you to think, I wonder who that could be. Okay, so Louise, you've got some familiarity. Have you had your chart done before?
Yes, I have, but in India.
Oh, so Vedic.
So it's a whole back aside.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've had a couple of readings.
Right, so you have some understanding of how...
A little bit.
A little bit,
Yeah.
okay. Karina, any understanding at
I
all?
have none whatsoever.
Okay, wonderful.
Hey, can I just give you a high five?
See, I like that because it's a mix. There's people who don't know anything about it, so hence why I picked somebody famous. So the things I'll say, you might think, oh, could it be? I don't know. And is it Bindi?
Bansi.
Sorry, Bansi. Have you had your chart read before?
Yes.
So you've got some familiarity.
Yes, but I will just be really honest in terms of the mandala, no, because she actually deciphered everything for me. She gave me an outline of everything. So I've seen the chart, but I don't know how to read it.
Right, okay. So we've got newbies in the room. So as I said last week, we did Barack Obama. And this week, we have somebody else. So, let me point out a key thing, whether it's Vedic, and that's Indian astrology. I don't want to say Indian, it's not quite, that's not the right word. Vedic is the oldest style of astrology. And the mandala is a rectangle box, and then it's got lines through it. So it means the same thing, but it's just done in a different way. Whenever one looks at a chart, there's a core thing that you're trying to do here. You're trying to reconcile the triad. Okay? So just get my pens. Aha. Right, so what we're trying to do is reconcile this concept called the triad. The triad is made up of the ascendant, which is here. So this is the ascendant, or rising sign. This person's rising sign is in water, Cancer. Okay? So this is the first part of the triad. The second part of the triad is the sun. The sun is our core identity, it's our ego. It's our light in the world. And then the other light, so the sun is a luminary and the moon is a luminary. So there are 10 planets, 2 of them are luminaries, the sun and the moon. Okay? So the sun is, it could be seen as the male function. We both have the anima and the animus within us. So that's, we've got the feminine and the masculine energies within both of us. The sun is your core identity, and the moon is your emotional response to it. The moon backs the sun. That's the idea. So when one looks at a chart, whatever chart, you're trying to bring reconciliation and harmony to the triad. So this person's triad is made up of water. So we've got water, fire, because this person is Aries. So we've got another Aries person has come into the room by the chart. So we've got fire, and then we have the moon in air. Okay? Think about nature. So sometimes when we meet people and we think, hold on a minute, she was really nice the other day I spoke to her, and today she's bloody horrible. Or, so we at times can appear disconnected. It's like, what happened? You know? The answer to what happened could be because what you're experiencing is the disconnect. There are different elements. There are 4 elements. Water, fire, air and earth is the other element. Think about nature. Which elements work together? Fire and air, and then you'd have water and earth. Now, this person has the keyhole to their life in 3 different elements. So, Cancer is ruled by the moon. Cancer is associated with nourishment, nurturing, emotional connection, history, the past. Emotional security is very important to this person. Okay? The sun is in Aries. Miss Aries, what do you want to say about this Aries? How do you experience Aries?
Aries is like sort of when they want to do something, they might be quite impulsive about it. I don't know, it's all fired up, isn't it?
That's it. So Aries is a cardinal sign, meaning it's the sign that initiates. I've got an idea, foot on the accelerator, I'm off. So, and Aries, the sun is exalted in Aries, meaning it's at its pinnacle. So it's a very fiery sun. The other place where it's dignified is Leo. Yeah? So imagine this person, you walk through this person's keyhole, there's a sensitivity. The ego, the core identity, has a very definitive sense about who they are. They are an initiator. And the moon is in air. So imagine emotional responses to things. Somebody who's airy, how do they come across? Maybe, well, one could...
Like Kanye West.
Is he Aries?
I don't know.
You're guessing. But just think,
Air's changeable, isn't it?
air's changeable.
Yeah.
But it's not Gemini. Gemini is the changeable air sign. Aquarius could come across as being aloof, distant, yeah? When you have when you have planets in Aquarius, you're dealing with a conceptual thinker, somebody who's very conceptual, and because they're conceptual, they might come across as a bit aloof, okay? It's also ruled by the sign of Uranus, the planet Uranus, and Uranus is associated with the higher mind, okay? And Mercury, the planet of communication, is exalted here. But this person's moon makes them appear a bit distant. So you can imagine what you're trying to do with the chart. You're trying to marry the ascendant with the sun, and then the sun with the moon. That's what you're always trying to do. You're trying to harmonize this. And the planet that enables you to anchor is however you harmonize or however you reconcile it, it has to be done through the sun. Yeah? The sun has to be satisfied because that's your core identity. This person's sun is in the 10th house. Where somebody has the sun in the 10th house, they have to be their own boss. They are natural leaders. They have to lead. Have to lead. So this is what this person, what we're now going to do is kind of explore who could this person be. All right? Let me give you some more clues. Now, this person became famous at a relatively young age.
Are they still alive?
They are still alive. Yes. Ask the question.
Male, female, can you...
Okay. So what's coming to you? Who's coming to you?
I'm just thinking, I think it might be a female, but...
Right, perfect, okay. So we're going to put up female. It is a female. So let me just get on. So, yeah, any other ideas? It's a female. What made you say female? Or is it just a gut instinct thing?
I think it's a gut instinct thing.
Yeah. So, the clues are fame at a young age. Female. Still alive. What industries can enable people to become famous at a young age?
I'd say celebrity, okay, that's famous.
Yeah.
Like actress or singer.
Right,
Or,
okay.
Yeah.
So another clue, singer.
So this person's quite strong-willed then?
Yes? Stay with that for a moment, Ruby. You're right, this person is strong-willed. Think about what I said. You walk through their front door, they appear maternal. No. No. But, you know, just keep guessing. You walk through this person's front door, they appear maternal.
She doesn't appear maternal.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But just energy-wise, yeah? They appear maternal, but Ruby's absolutely right. She's strong-willed.
And are they a bit of an unusual thinker then, having the Aquarius Uranus revolution thing?
Coming to that. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah. 'cause
Kylie Minogue is coming to me.
Kylie, no, it's not Kylie. It's not Kylie.
Is it pink?
It's not pink. But I like it. So, she's a singer. Or was a singer.
Has she gone into something else then?
Yes, she has.
Is she into activism?
No, she's not known for that. She's not known for that.
But she doesn't have any children.
She does have children.
She does.
Yes.
Appears maternal.
She appears maternal, and that's because her ascendant is Cancer. Yeah? And she is a mother. Okay, let's present some more clues. Let's look at the 12th house. The 12th house can be associated with the natural house of Pisces. Why? In the natural zodiac, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and you get round to the 12th sign, which is Pisces. So in the natural zodiac, Pisces is the 12th house, and it's ruled by the planet Neptune, the lord of the seas. So 12th house, think just naturally, is Pisces. Pisces is about redemption. Pisces is where we come home to ourselves. We've been through the journey of life and we're returning home. Pisces is where we're seeking our own kind of spiritual revolution or spiritual awakening. It's where people recede. They recede back. Or societies or institutions that are hidden, or people who were hidden away, where we hide part of ourselves. So one interpretation of the 12th house is, just think like asylums, hospitals, prisons, where people are hidden away. Think about when we recede, when we are going through those moments of reflection. That's a 12th house function. The other side of it, where you have planets in the 12th house, it's another house that can show you the potential of a career. The 12th house is, and if there are planets in the 12th house, it's the impact you have on the masses. Yeah? The 10th house is usually seen as the house of career. And there's truth in that. Another way to understand the 10th house is about your approach to your work. What approach will you take? This is your public face. If you notice that, let's take this one out. We've got 6 houses on the bottom, 6 houses on the top. The majority of this person's planets are in the upper hemisphere.
Can I ask, how long can you stay in the 12th house?
Oh, so this is a natal chart, the moment we took our first breath. As we grow, as we age, the planets are always moving. So your natal chart is always going to be your natal chart. It will be activated when transits, if there's a transit in Uranus here. So the planets keep moving, and at any given point, they will form aspects. Okay? So aspects, the key ones are the conjunction, the square, the trine, the opposition, the quincunx, the yard, finger of God. Well, they are the core aspects. This is what creates a communication between the planets. A conjunction, imagine, here are 2 planets, she's got it in her chart. Venus and Jupiter Jupiter's at 8 degrees, Venus is at 11 degrees, meaning that they are closely aligned, okay? So the energies impact upon each other. That's a conjunction. A square is where you've got this inner combustion, it's an inner tension. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to reconcile. So let's pick out. So we've got a conjunction here. We have a square here. We have a square between Jupiter and Venus, squaring Neptune.
So square is 1, 2, 3, 4 signs?
Yes, it's 4 signs away, yeah. And I've done it as an equal house chart, so it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
Okay?
So they don't square backwards? So you couldn't say Jupiter and Venus.
Oh yeah, you could, yes.
Do they square back?
They could be squared backwards, yeah? So the square is like an inner combustion. It's a tension point. You're trying to, ninth house, here's somebody who needs to be in the world.
Is this person depressed? Are they suffering from depression? Or have done? Any form of mental illness?
No. Well, if they have, it's not public knowledge, okay? So where you've got a square, there's an inner tension. Do I go this way, do I go that way? When you have a trine, this is where the energies flow so naturally together, and then we've got a sextile as well. Sextile and trines, these two, is where there's ease in the energy flow between planets. Ease, opportunity, luck, yeah, benevolence, good thing, benefits. The opposition is something or someone is coming at you from the outside world. So when you're unconscious, as we all have been in different phases, when we don't listen, yeah, something or someone is going to wake us up. That's the opposition. So this person isn't known to have any mental health issues. But let's stick with the 12th house, because as I said, mass impact with the public. Now we have the South Node, we have Saturn, and we have Mars. So Mars is assertion. It's action. Saturn is where you're grounded. You're going to take solid action to bring about a plan of action. These two planets form a conjunction, and they work well together. The reason being is because Mars is exalted in the sign that Saturn rules. And Saturn rules two signs, Capricorn and Aquarius. Okay? And it's got the South Node here. So this person is used to hard work and success. Saturn is, I've worked really hard and now I'm the mountain goat, standing proudly at the top of the mountain, and look what I have achieved. This is what Saturn with Mars, brilliant executioner in terms of implementing things and getting things done. It's with the South Node, which gives an indication that this person is used to being quite business savvy and getting things done. Okay? The Sun, her Sun, is conjunct the 11th house, cusp, and this house of 11th house is about groups. So this person was part of a group. A singer who was part of a group.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Cheryl Cole or one of the Spice Girls now. The mumsy one, maybe Spice, but Posh Spice.
That's it, it's Posh Spice. Yeah, it's Posh Spice. And so now we're going to open up the whole chart, okay? And I will point out the things that make a Posh Spice. What made you say Posh Spice? Well done. Posh Spice!
Did you get it the last time as well?
That was just before you said a girl group. All of a sudden I thought it was Cheryl Cole.
Right.
For some reason I'm just hard working, like business like, we're all like, as you were describing that, I thought, well, it's going to be a singer who's probably gone, developed her own career.
Yeah.
But it's not singing.
Yes, and it's not singing.
Yeah, and I couldn't work out what Cheryl Cole has done, but then I went to Posh Spice.
Yeah.
She does work hard.
Yes.
And she has built, so let me show you how she's built her fortune and who she is. She happens to be on the front page of Vogue this month, and she happened with all of her children. She's on the front page of Vogue as a very successful fashion designer. She's also on the front page of OK, where she said, I'm very, very proud of what I have achieved, literally this week. So let's unpick her chart. So she has her Sun, which is conjunct the 11th house cusp. The 11th house is about incoming gains through friends, your associations, people in high places. She was part of a group that had mass impact right around the world. They were huge. She was I'm going to say, the real business savvy one, but she came across with soft power, water. She never appeared to be the assertive one in the group. Just think back, you know, you had Jerry, you had Mel, Baby, and Sporty, yeah? And it was, the impression was that Mel and Jerry were the ones who were always in the press talking away, blah, 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 blah. But Victoria, yeah, you could see her like the queen behind the throne. Yeah? She had soft, definitive power. Sounds a contradiction, but she did. Her south node with Saturn, she's used to hard work and she's action orientated. So they were a group that, and her sun is sextiling. So we've got this one. The sun is sextiling all of this. Where it's a sextile, that means it's easy for her. She's somebody who is able to take advantage of opportunities, and she strikes while the iron is hot, and she will work hard for it, as we have seen. Okay? Now, how do we know she was going to be rich? We're going to stick with the group, but we're going to open up the chart. Why do you think she was going to be rich? I'll ask you, Louise, just because you've got some experience of working with charts.
Good karma.
Right.
Part of it.
It's part of it. And so,
Yeah.
okay. So her wealth, there are certain signatures. So in astrology, things tend to show themselves at least 2 or 3 times. Her sun, in the 10th house, she has to be her own leader. She has to. Her sun is conjunct Chiron. Chiron is where we are the wounded healer. Every single one of us has a Chiron. Chiron is conjunct her sun. And the fact she was attached to a group, a suggestion is that the group association hurt her personal identity, why she had to break. She has to lead. And it's in the 10th house. She has to shine in her own right. Okay? 26 degrees is a degree of Taurus. Taurus is about money. Here is somebody who can make a phenomenal amount of money, and she has gone on to make a phenomenal amount of money. She is worth $450 million.
If you have something at 26-degree Taurus?
Yeah.
Really?
Let me break it down. Let me break it down. Just imagine 30 degrees per sign.
Yeah.
Yeah? So we have 12 houses. Okay? So the first degree, Aries. Second degree, Taurus. And then it's every kind of multiple of that until you get to 30 degrees. So for Taurus, it will be 2, it will be 14,
Yeah.
and it will be 26. Yeah? So just multiples of 2, yeah? Once you go around the whole cycle.
It's not 2, 14, 28. That's how my brain wants to make it.
Okay, so let me break it down. There are 12.
Oh, I understand.
You understand?
Plus the 12.
Plus a 12 and then 2. Start Aries
Yeah.
1, Taurus 2.
Mm.
26 degrees, an indication, and it's her sun in the 10th house. She can't not be her own, she can't not lead. A phrase that I came up for her is the exile, no, the survivor wearing the mask of the leader with the soul of the survivor. She survived the band. She had to lead, and she's maternal. And so what this does, when we're able to open up a definition, a narrative, Hence why people can grow into this very wider identification of who they could become. So let's pick away. So we've got 26 degrees is an indication. It's connected to her sun. Okay? We have this signature. If you ever have Venus conjunct, trine, sextile, Jupiter, wealth. This is a signature of wealth. It's one of the best aspects to have in your chart. Because Jupiter is abundance. Jupiter is the benefactor. Jupiter is about where you're going to take risks. Jupiter is about expansion. When you've got the signature with Venus, money, what you value, anybody who's got a signature, they have the potential to make a lot of money. Let's see how she made her money. We know through music, mass appeal. She's gone on to be a very, very successful fashion designer. How do we know that? By her chart. Venus is exalted in Pisces, meaning it's the highest expression. So Venus is about beauty, beautifying, what you value, yeah? Aesthetics. It's also about the tangible things in life, because Venus rules both Taurus and Libra. So she rules the tangible things that give us emotional security, that make us feel nice. She also rules the sense of justice, balance, because we've got Libra here. And she's exalted in Pisces, so there's this very spiritual, really sensitive, spiritual, love, deep love. It's with Jupiter, from a Vedic perspective, Jupiter is the man. From Western perspective, it's the Sun and Mars. We've heard her say, you know, we have a sense that she really adores David. Yeah? I've seen interviews of her where she said, you know, if David ever left me, I would be completely broken. It's this signature in Pisces, so there's this double blessing, if one looks at it this way. There's this blessing of a real unity and harmony when it comes to love and sensitivity and spirituality. With Jupiter, wealth. And Jupiter is the co-ruler of Pisces. So you've got two planets in a sign where one's exalted and one is the co-ruler, it's the old ancient ruler. Wealth. In the 9th house, meaning the world. And Jupiter in Pisces in the 9th house is in the house it rules. So her prominence in the world, with this signature, she couldn't be somebody who is unknown. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I have a question.
Please,
about
ask.
birth charts. Not specifically to this one, but
Yes.
otherwise I'll probably forget.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you have a birth chart, is that telling you what a person or a soul's potential is?
Potentialities.
Okay, in that lifetime, yeah.
Yes.
So it's not, see, because obviously, so my parents are Indian, and the way that I grew up, I'm not religious.
Yeah, but whatever you are,
But
yeah?
you know, they basically described birth charts to me as, or their understanding of it is, this is what is going to happen in your life. And I always had a real problem with that, but
Well, so let's address the question. Fate and free will.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's how I got into astrology. So go back to the 90s, my life was in pieces. I had a highly dysfunctional family. Highly, highly, highly. I was nursing, dealing with an emotional heartache, breakup. I just finished a 3-year campaign with 4 other women where we took the Inns of Court School of Law to court. I trained as a barrister and they kicked us out of bar school and we took them on and we beat them. And that took a lot for 5 women to take on this institution. So they were death of dreams. So it was this culmination of my life imploding. And I remember going to my mum's home one day and I just said, Mum, I can't live like this anymore. She said, thank God you realised. And it's in that thank God you realised that it was, I said to myself, I'm worth doing the work. I didn't know what tool I would use. I thought it would be philosophy, hence the fate and free will. I felt so fated, but I had this inkling of free will. What does that mean? So I thought philosophy would open it up for me, but astrology found me, I found it, and it was the key that unlocked the door to me. And yeah, it's my thing. So to answer your question, it is fate and free will. Now, from your parents' perspective, I'm reflecting back to you, so we're answering your parents. I'm reflecting back to you the life that Victoria Beckham has already lived. Yeah? So your parents would say, you see, told you. But then, let's say she remained unconscious and didn't explore her potential, yeah? And actually kept in her south node.
I've got loads of questions now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? So if she was still in her south node, it's this sense of how we just keep going and doing the things we always go and do. Even if they don't work, we still do them. Yeah? So we all know the points of our own illumination. Something, you know, will spark us. For me, it was, I can't live like this anymore. So something made me become conscious. Maybe it's the brutal blows from life. Do you know what I mean? It's like, maybe I need to try something else. So after astrology, I did a master's in analytical psychology, and then I was a Buddhist for 12 years. So I've got this triumvirate of processes that have helped me clean up. But anyway, let's go back to Victoria. So this is a wealth signature. Yeah? Now, she met David at the height of their career. Yeah, in their early days. They were very well known. How can we see David in the chart? And how do we know she would meet somebody who is athletic?
Is the Jupiter the husband? Isn't it?
Yeah, so in Vedic, Jupiter's the husband, and in Western, the Sun and the Mars are signatures of husband. So let's look at it both ways. Her Sun is in Aries. Sun is you. Sun could be your father. Sun is the man. Yeah? David, equally, I'm reading David through her chart. Yeah? He played a sport that was earthed. Yeah? 26 degrees, Taurus. Yeah? Why he's an athlete is because the Sun, her Sun, is in Aries. Aries, very physical. I've got, for example, Jupiter. My Jupiter is in Aries. I'm a very physical woman. I've exercised for 50 years. Yeah, from the age of 5, the Ekka Spoon race, until 55 last month. Do you know what I mean? So it's a signature that she and her mate, who happens to be David, physical, okay? He equally plays team sports. Her Sun is conjunct the 11th house of teams and groups. Let's see David again. David is the man, okay? This deep, abiding love between them. Her Jupiter is the co-ruler of Pisces, and Pisces rules feet. So, just on this signature alone, he would be a high-profile sports person who uses his feet. This is how I've read David through her chart. Yes, go ahead. No, sorry, it's great. Please, feel free, it's Bybreen, what are you talking about? Yes, go for it.
So, with regards to people's like birth charts, right?
Yes.
And in the way that you're reading like her partner, so obviously they're married, would you be able to tell, or are you able to tell the most significant partner? Is that, can you read that from
Oh,
somebody's
right.
birth chart? Or are you picking, so are you picking up on that just based on the characteristics of David Beckham, and then you're saying, oh, I can see that because of XYZ on the chart? Or if you, say for example, you didn't know that she was married to David Beckham,
How would I read the characteristics?
well, would you be able to say, like just from looking at somebody's birth chart, this person is going to meet a significant love and it's going to be this person?
Yeah, because if I see this signature,
Yeah.
she's got Venus conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. That's the depth of love.
Okay.
That's a real spiritually connected, harmonious, loving, every kind of adjective you want to use to describe love. If I didn't know it was Victoria Beckham.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. So
because-
forget it's Victoria Beckham. I can just read it on the planet. I'm reading the connections with the aspects between the planets.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, because I couldn't tell if you were picking out the characteristics from the birth chart, or if that was something that you'd be able to pick up on.
I could pick it up in any
Okay,
chart.
okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So let's say, for example, let's stay with that. So let's say that Jupiter wasn't in Pisces, and let's say Jupiter was quincunx. This one. This is an awkward aspect. And this one. So let's stay with that, because people are, what's a relationship like and what it can be, da, da, da. So, to have an idea of marriage, let's take marriage. Marriage is represented by the 7th house. Okay, so the first house is the house of I, the 7th house is the house of we, but it's about intimate relationships. It could be business relationships, it could be politics, but it's your significant other. Okay? If the ruler of the 7th house, in this case it is Saturn, if the ruler was in this configuration, a yod, and a yod is where, a yod and a quincunx, a yod is like an isosceles triangle. The reason being is because it is 6 places away. So imagine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Imagine if Saturn was here and it had a sextile here. So imagine it was this configuration, which would equal a yod. When you have the ruler of the 7th house in a yod, that's a problematic marriage. That's going to be a marriage where there's struggle, frustration. It's an unhappy signature. A stressful signature.
You can apply that then, because the houses represent different areas of life. So
That's
if you
right.
read the rule of one house in a yard,
You know it's a tension point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea, it's, you know, your 7th house is where it's meant to be blissful. Yeah. So if you've got the 7th house ruler in a yard, that's not good for marriage. There may be another signature to say it's better that you live with somebody. That's not saying you won't have love. It's just don't get married. Don't get married. Or get married and you're going to face these factors. Tension. So yes, to answer your question, let's forget it's Victoria Beckham. I would be able to look at the chart and think, okay, this is a beautiful love signature. Yeah? And what gives an indication that this could be a long term is because the 7th house is Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. Saturn's about longevity. Yeah? That's how I could tell. Yeah? So we've got the signature here, her and David. We have the signature, his feet, but she also was a fantastic dancer. Yeah? So the woman using her feet, the man using his feet, the sun in Aries, a very active man, yeah, playing a sport that is on a field, which is Earth, represented by 26 degrees. What else is there? When did they get married? Do you know when they got married? 4th of July, 1999. Here's another signature. So when planets continue to move, to answer your question, Ruby, that's why I put this one, I put Venus using the red pen, okay? So let's look at this beautiful signature on their wedding day, which was July the 4th. This is July 4th, 1999. Look at this signature. So you've got Venus at 22 degrees. It's trining Sun. Yeah? And it's forming a trine to the North Node. This is another benefic exchange of energy, harmonious, yeah? So on their wedding day, their signature was the Sun, her ego, the man, yeah? Meeting transiting Venus, the woman, on the day they got married, trining the North Node, the future direction of where the two of them are going. Beautiful. Beautiful signature. So underpinning all of that, you've got this real sense of harmony and flow.
And that's specific to the 4th.
To them. To the 4th of July 1999, Venus moved into her birth chart. Imagine in the skies. Venus came into Leo.
Okay, so that's interesting. So in like the Indian culture, the traditional Indian culture, people read, birth charts and that sort of thing to pick days where marriages would be very prosperous.
Yes.
So is this the same?
This is a perfect example.
Got you.
Who knows whether they use an astrologer or not?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't comment on it. It's not my place. I don't have no idea whether they're into astrology or not. I'm reading this as an astrologer. I looked at the day they got married to see, actually, because when I saw this, I thought, wow, and they're married. Wonder where Venus was. The planet of love. Where was it? Where could it have shown up in her chart? So 26 degrees, 22 degrees, 22 degrees, yeah? Tight. Yeah, it's a trine. Magical.
I think it's beautiful.
Do you know what I mean?
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's like, I feel really happy for her.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's really.
I feel so, I've gone good with it. I feel
Yeah.
so happy
But
for them.
you know, the thing
It's
is,
really beautiful.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
like I always believe that, even astrologer or no astrologer, if you allow yourself to be guided by your higher self, then
Yeah. And here, beautiful, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Okay, so her Neptune is here. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So she has a really magical chart. She really does. She's worked damn hard to get to where, and look how she made her money beyond music. Okay, so Venus rules music. Okay, put music to one side. She's a fashion designer. She creates products, i.e. clothes, to make women look beautiful and feminine and in the highest sign it could be. And she's known internationally because it's Venus conjunct Jupiter, and then her North Node is in the sign of Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. This is somebody who could never be behind the scenes, yeah, and will make it in her own right. Like she says on the front cover of OK this week, I'm really, really proud about what I have achieved. There it is. They made their money together. Why? Here's another signature. Venus is in the second house, the house it naturally rules. Why? Imagine, Aries first house, Taurus second house. The planet that rules Taurus is Venus. Venus rules money, talent, resources, how you turn those and to create wealth. So Sun, Venus in the second house, she couldn't be poor. They got married, so they're joint resources. Yeah? They're joint resources. It's beautiful. She's got a magical chart. It's beautiful. Do you know what I mean? It really is beautiful. And her moon, you know, they call her posh spice, she's always pushing up her face. It's, you know, that's just her disposition. She comes across as aloof. Her moon, which is in the 8th house, on the cusp of the 9th house, because it's 27 degrees, then you get to 30 degrees, then it will be 0. So it's within a 7-degree orb. So she's got her moon, which is about her emotions, on the cusp of her 9th house of love. I don't know what to say now. You know? So that's how I worked out, that's how I deducted what, you know, she's lived this already. We've seen it in the public eye. You know, she's on the front page of Vogue this week.
I think what's really beautiful is, I mean, because, you know, like I said to you, like, I don't really know anything about astrology, but to see that there is potential, but then for her specifically to see that she's actually been guided and taken that guidance on to
and realise it.
Yeah, to reach
beautiful.
Potential. Yeah, that's really nice to see actually.
It's really, really, really beautiful. And good thing she had the courage of her own convictions to, you know, remember they always talk about the Ruby Spice Girls are getting back. Oh, Victoria, she doesn't want to. She doesn't actually. She needs to be doing her own thing, and she's done it for 10 years in her own right, and she's made her way. Yeah? Because it's always, you know, what the last time they appeared, I think, was the Olympics. You know, they all got together for the Olympics, and I remember there were some photographs, and you know, she then went off and was with David and her children. She wasn't out partying, and they were poo-pooing her. You know, she's built a separate life, and she loves it, and she's built it from nothing.
It's funny because I mean, you know, I grew up listening to the Spice Girls. And for me, I don't see her identity anymore as being anything to do with the Spice Girls.
Absolutely,
like, for me, that memory is completely gone.
It's
even
complete.
though I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just see her as a fashion designer. I see her as the wife of David Beckham.
And a very successful fashion designer. They had a slogan. What was it called? Girl Power. Yeah. So how can we see girl power impacting the world?
What do you mean? Sorry?
So through this chart, here's okay. She was part of a group. So let's look at it this way. Her son, on the cusp of the 11th house of groups, so the group had a slogan called Girl Power. How can we see that in the chart? We see it because her Mercury is at 9 degrees. It's in Aries, the cardinal fire sign about power and assertion. It's at 9 degrees, which it's a slogan for the whole world, yeah? And it's backed by the moon, yeah? Because the sun forms a sextile to the moon. And the sun forms a sextile to Mars. So bringing these together, because you've got 28, 29, 22, 26 and 27. Bringing them together, you have Mars telling the moon, Mars conveying to the sun. Mars is sextile the sun, in Aries, the sign it rules. Where Mercury is, have the courage of your convictions to spread your message about women, girl power. Yeah? Yes. The moon, yeah? It's in Aquarius. So they were revolutionary in spreading this message to empower girls across the world. Yeah? It's Aquarius, it's about the collective. Yes.
Can I ask, what was the Mercury 9 degrees? What did
Okay, brilliant. Right, so Mercury is the planet of communication. 9 degrees is associated with Sagittarius, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and you get to Sagittarius, the 9th degree. So, and it's in the 10th house, the public house, yeah? So her message, both ways. Their message went out to the world through the 10th house. Her message went out to the world because it's hers, yeah? So she uses the power of her beautiful designs that are communicated to the world, yeah? And it's communicated to the world again because Jupiter is in the house number 9 that it rules, and it's in the sign that it co-rules as well. So it's a double signature. Yeah? Any other questions?
No, trust me, if I do.
I'll be in there. Any questions? That's it. That's what I wanted to take you through. It's Victoria Beckham.
I think it's a wonderful modality. I mean, I'm going to be really honest. You know, I'm sure it's taken years and years of work and practice and understanding. I completely respect it as a modality. I have no idea how to read a chart or anything, but I think it's great. I think it definitely makes sense.
And that's the reason why I just thought for the tasters I'm going to highlight high profile people. So because we've seen them grow into who they are. Yeah? And that's her chart.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. I absolutely love astrology.
I can tell.
Do you know what I mean? It's a wonderful modality.
It's your calling.
It's definitely part of my Dharma. And the reason why I know it's part of my Dharma is because my North Node is in the 8th house of Cancer. Yeah? My North Node is the 8th house of Cancer. So it's about how I help people cultivate their inner world, their inner resources. Remember, 2nd house is me, my resources. 8th house is other people's resources. So how do I help them with their emotional resources and assets to transform them so that they can go on to be, you know, the best version or better version, or have a transformative narrative that's going to enable them to grow. So part of my Dharma is definitely to be an astrologer, but I've also got quite a sort of a triple signature for astrology. So my 9th house, my 9th and 10th house, I have Mercury in Virgo, so it's in the sign, it's dignified, so I can't not use my voice in the world, you know, to speak. I have Uranus there. Uranus is the sign, the planet for astrology. And then the degree of my Mercury is conjunct a fixed star, and that fixed star is like 3 Uranuses. So I'm somebody, I can really deconstruct things. I can, this degree means that, so I've got a very clear, definitive signature.
Did you say you studied, at the beginning, did you
Yes.
study some sort of psychology or counselling as well?
Not counselling, I did Jungian, so I came across Jung through astrology. So when I was voraciously reading my astrology, it was like Jung. I thought, okay. So I wanted to do a master's in astrology, none existed. So I came across a master's that had Jung's name in it. I thought, yeah, it's going to have some astrology in it.
He liked that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with astrology, but that's another thing. So I did a Jungian analytic master. So I did Jungian psychoanalytic.
So you understand people as well.
Yeah.
Okay? And so you can deliver this in a really beneficial way to people, because in India they can just bam bam bam,
Yeah.
and it's like it isn't very encouraging. It can be a bit discouraging because they do deliver it in a way where this is it, this is it.
And you've got to, you see, every time I have a client and they bring me their chart, it's a real honour for me. It's a sacred, it's their mandala. So I handle it with care. So I consider myself to be a really good astrologer, so I see things. And then my interaction with my client, I will know what to say, how to say it, and what not to say.
Yeah.
Because can this person handle what could be a potential. Yeah? So, and I'm glad that I came to astrology the way I did first, then backed it with this understanding of our psyche. I've got a master's in analytical psychology. So I'm not flippant and frivolous. You're going to be famous tomorrow. You may be, you may not be. What I'm more interested in is how do I guide this person along their path through an interaction. They know their life so far. They might be on the wrong tracks. They've come to me with a question or a deeper understanding of what could this mean. How do I help them unfold themselves? So they come up with a narrative. They come up with some answers. Okay, what does that mean for you? And where could that, how could that be reflected in the chart? Yeah, so as an astrologer, we have to be very, very responsible. I see many things, many things, and there are certain things I wouldn't tell a client.
But that's like an additional skill, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, you could be a great mathematician, but it doesn't mean you can then explain mathematical theory to like other people. Because, you know, you have like, you know, amazing scientists, but, you know, some of them just don't like talking to anyone. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's an additional skill, and that's a great thing.
Thank you.
But also, yeah, definitely in terms of being able to discern whether somebody should hear something or not. I think
you have to be really careful.
Yeah.
Because, you know, people could come to you because they're transitioning, so they're really happy. Yeah, tell me what's the next thing. Or, you know, they're moving from crisis to clarity. Where are they on the journey? In the crisis, raising their head above the parapet, looking around, having a sense of where they may want to go. How do they get to that point of clarity? You have to, I speak for myself, very careful. And then where I see somebody is really wanting, then we engage. Okay, this signature could suggest.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you? I love this hand pointing.
Yes,
don't put me Do you know, a client emailed me the other day and she said, dear Miss Samuels, I came across you on Twitter and I was like, oh no, I sound like a school mom. So at the end of the PS, no, drop the Miss Samuels, call me Bybreen. But yes, go on, Louise.
Oh, so I had a sort of casual friend who was an astrologer.
Yes.
And I came to see him in Brixton.
Yes.
And he just did me a favour, opened up the chart. This was about 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, you could do healing. You know, you could do some sort of massage healing. And I was like, oh, time for that. Didn't really think anything of it until the last couple of years, and I trained in reflexology. I was going to start Reiki, but when he told me that it just wasn't the time, I didn't want to hear it. Or maybe also it wasn't quite the time for me to actually go down that avenue. But the funny thing about it is that he didn't push it. He just mentioned it, and it's something that I do remember.
Yeah.
And if I was in touch with him, I'd love to say, you know what you said, it's
just true.
Yeah.
But there's going to, I mean, I think there's different, you know, aspects to your life, right? And different things will trigger different things. Because I had the exact same thing. So I was told that, you know, I'd be a healer, a mediumship ability. But I grew up in a home where mediumship was just like a no-no. Because my grandfather was a medium and they had like bad experiences with it, basically. But now I'm like, okay, maybe I could, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I totally get that. But I don't, in this being a potentiality, I don't, you know, again, we're going to come into different phases and places in our life that will give us opportunity and allow us to develop in certain ways.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no, it's not related, so you can
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. You know, we reach our own nirvana at really different points, and it's very subjective. Ruby will get there when she wants to get there. People will only change if they want to change, is my belief. People don't change because I'm telling you to change. Or life is lashing you and you're still in your south node, you know. Yeah, Karina. Do you know what I mean? People only change when they want to, ready to. And, you know, I always celebrate people who raise their head above the parapet, because taking yourself on is the greatest thing that you could ever do. I'm so glad I was there in my mum's dining room when I said, I can't live like this anymore. And For me, it was like, I am worth doing the work on. I'm worth it. Because I can't live like this. And so in that epiphany, it was about surrendering. I didn't know how, what, and didn't fear it, because it was like, I know what that world is about. I am open to this world. And so I walked through the world in quite an emotional, naked way. I'm very comfortable, as I said to the group last week. I don't have sacred cows, so I can say anything, be anything with anybody. There's no shush shush quiet nonsense. No, that's where things get swept under the carpet. Let's keep sweeping under the carpet. Shh. No, I think it's the shushing. That's the problem. It's the shushing that people have suppressed who they really are. Whereas I'm very much a maverick. I will be in your face and.
What's that part in your chart that makes you like that? The key component?
Okay.
What sun you said you were?
Well, I'm Leo sun. So let's put it this way. In my 9th and 10th house, across my 9th and 10th house, I've got 6 planets. And there are 10 planets and there are 12 houses.
So the sun is doing this thing that it did with Victoria Beckham's
All right,
in your chart.
so I've got a stellium. So Victoria has a stellium.
What's the stellium?
I'll tell you that in a minute. She's got 2. I forgot to point that out. Thank you for raising it. So if you notice, in this house, there are 3 planets, okay? So there's the sun. So where you have 3 or more planets in one sign or one house, it's a stellium. She also has a stellium involving her south node. So stelliums, imagine they are concentrated areas of energy that they're all trying to assert themselves. So they are combusted areas, and they are points in the chart. Your eye will be drawn to them, points in the chart that you have to reconcile. Yeah? You have to reconcile. And she's got hers in the 10th house. You know, there's no way she could be a shrinking violet. And yet, her disposition and demeanour is quite held back. Yeah? But she is a powerful woman and knows how to use it. I can see the finger going up. So I like it's resting under the chin.
I'm trying to guess
Like a lazy
your
finger.
ascendant sign. I can't remember if you said it. You did say your ascendant sign.
I did not say my ascendant. Oh, right. Well, I'll give you all one guess. What do you think my ascendant sign is?
It's 1 of 12.
Yes! I love that deduction.
I'm going to go for Capricorn.
You're going to go for Capricorn. Okay, so let's see what we've got going on
I
here.
don't know what.
Whoops. So you think I'm Capricorn ascendant. Let's play a little game here. So you think I'm Capricorn ascendant. Okay, what do you think, Ruby? Any of the signs?
Sagittarius.
You think I'm Sagittarius,
I'm just going to take a stab in the dark. Pisces.
Pisces. Karina?
I get along with you quite a lot.
We do indeed.
So,
What do you think?
Either be Saggy or Virgo.
Sag or Virgo? So we're going to go ×2 here. Or Virgo. Well, the sign is in there somewhere.
Oh, it's definitely one of those 4.
Definitely.
Okay.
All right.
Is it in there twice?
Ooh, very astute. Yes, I am Sagittarius rising.
Yay!
Yay!
Go Saggy.
Yeah, go Saggy. Go Saggy. Yeah, so I've got a lot of fire in my chart. Yes. Anyway, any more questions? Because we're coming to the end of our session.
Yeah, I just had one quick question.
Certainly.
Actually, it probably ties in with what Louise asked earlier in terms of how many lifetimes back this goes, because I'm particularly interested in and work quite extensively with the Akashic records. Now, with the South Node, that is, in my opinion,
Yes.
the karma, right? So,
Yes.
'cause obviously I don't.
Yeah, it is
research-
karma. Yeah.
So if I was just to think about like my birth chart and the things that I've been told in terms of the South Node and what I need to clear in this lifetime,
Yes.
would the South Node be the stuff that is the most binding?
Binding.
Yeah.
Great question. Really great question. Yes. You see, our journey in this lifetime, so here we, past lifetime, here we come, we rock into this world, took our first breath, our chart opens up, and here we have the South Node with planets associated, they're in conjunction, so they're all feeding off each other, yeah? So we are bound by them. The longer we remain unconscious, we are bound by them. So we bring... South Node has its strengths. It's the things that we've already conquered or mastered and we're really skilled in. Yeah? And what tends to happen is that we use that. It's like I can just power through this situation, or I can, because these are tools I know, these are resources, these are paths I've already walked. We're comfortable. Even if it's crushing us, we're comfortable. And the idea is that we take the benefits of the South Node, yeah, and we integrate them into the North Node, or enable them to create leverage for the North Node, because the North Node is where we are meant to be going, growth.
Okay, so I think that my idea of what the South Node is probably a little bit incorrect, because in my head the South Node stuff, you know, whatever's sort of dictated by what's in the chart, would be the patterns, the karmic patterns that need to be cleared.
You're right, it's absolutely right, yeah.
Okay.
And if the more we bring the suitcases with us in this life, we're not clearing our karma. We're dragging it around with us.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So let's imagine, let's say that her Venus was conjunct the South Node, yeah, with Saturn, yeah? Right, so her Venus would be, let's say it was a man's chart, because Venus represents the woman in the man's chart. So he would be somebody who has brought a relationship, an unresolved karmic relationship into this lifetime and hasn't cleared. Yeah?
Got you, okay.
Has not done the clearing, and so may find himself in very conflictual situations, if, you know, depending on the aspects. But your South Node it's like you know that, you've done that. That's what can hold us all back, because it's comfortable. Here is uncharted territory. Yeah? And it's in the uncharted territory, what did we learn from our old life that we could bring into the new life that can aid us, that can act as leverage for us to launch?
So if she was to return again,
Yeah.
because she may have chosen not to come back,
She might, yeah.
would she be repeating this again, or would she...
Oh, that's interesting. That's a really great question. The fact we are seeing her unfolding her North Node, possibly not, because she's into her North Node. Yeah. This is my interpretation. The relationship with the group was holding her back. Yeah, South Node is with her Saturn and her Mars. Mars wants to take action. Yeah. And why I made this the association? Her Sun is conjunct Chiron. Chiron is where we've been wounded. Here it's about her identity. The longer she stayed in the group, it would have harmed her identity, and she needed to break free. And she did break free, and she's now been 10 years as a very successful fashion designer, beautifying women. And when I'm wealthy, I want her to dress me, because even if you could see, I could see that she had leaning. She used to dress so beautifully. I always loved her style. And, you know, she's now created a new life out of it. Good for her. Any last questions, ladies?
So, sorry, what was your name?
Ruby.
Ruby, as like Ruby was saying, so now she's like at where she should be, and she's come out of her comfort zone. When she passes, and if she chooses to come back into the life again, will she just continue in her North Node?
Oh, so that's a really, I love these questions. That's a really good question. So at the moment, her first breath in her new life, if she chooses to come back, her North Node may be in a different place. We all have a North Node. So if she chooses to come back, it may not be in Sagittarius. It might be in Libra. So then her lesson will be, where is her north node? Yeah, her south node will be opposite. So I don't know where her north node, I don't know where any of our north nodes will be in our next life.
So it's a lesson each time.
It's always going to be a lesson.
When does the lesson end?
When we do.
Well, we've resolved it.
When we've resolved it.
Yeah.
So back to that question again. At the moment, she's solved it.
But we don't know her whole life.
Yeah, we don't know if she's solved it.
Yeah, we don't. All I'm doing is a snapshot
of what she's, yeah.
and you know, this is just a mere.
So she's in a positive.
She's from this. Yeah, we don't know her whole life. I've just picked out what was so obvious to me that would make it accessible for you. We don't know what she hasn't cleaned up in. I have no idea. No one knows that.
Yeah, because there's probably still stuff in there that she could have cleared up earlier, and so therefore it's not a lesson learned. So when she comes back, if she chooses to come back, it could still be there, but perhaps because she's learnt some of it, she might not stay there
for that long. Yeah.
I know she suffered from eating disorder.
Well, do you see what I mean?
She's cleared that up.
Can you see that on there?
Eating, well, okay, so food is represented by Taurus. So where's our Taurus? Yeah, food is, and remember, Taurus is ruled by Venus, and so Taurus is in the 11th house. It doesn't have planets in it, so you look to where the ruler is, and the ruler is Venus at 11 degrees. Eating disorders. Has she got a body shape? Body is ruled by Taurus. The body is Taurus. Health issues would be in the 6th house. I'd have to look at the transits.
I mean, could it also be that something would just not be represented on a natal chart and it's just through free will?
Brilliant question. I would look. All of these planets get triggered when there are transits. Transits of the planets that always continue to move. So it could ignite an angle of a chart of a house. Yeah, it could ignite an angle. It could ignite a planet using any of these, the conjunction, square, trine, quincunx, yod. Yeah, so it depends on the configuration and the communication between the transiting planet and the point it touches on the chart.
Does the point it change? You know when there's like a full moon?
Yes.
Tonight. Does everything shift?
Brilliant question. So what that is known as, let's say, like my birthday was in August, so your solar return chart is the chart that brings you to the year that you are now. So this is your natal chart. You will always have your natal chart. The shifts happen, Ruby, each year. Mm-hmm. So you count it to the year that you're currently in, which will be slightly differently configured, because if we use the day for the year, that moves the chart around. So we get to, like, my 55th birthday was in August. Where are the planets now? I would relate the planets now to the year 55. Mm-hmm. And then you could then see what the narrative would be for my unfolding for this year.
So ideally you'd have this chart done on an annual basis.
You could do, yes.
And you would see a change.
Everything, you see everything, because you would be moving it to fit the birth year and the year coming. So you do it from birthday to birthday, then you speak to the transits, to the solar, and then you can relate it back to the natal. So you have like this 3-tier approach going on.
You know, you said.
I love this.
You know,
there's a question.
You know, you said that Saturn.
Yes.
Boundaries and
limitations. Yes.
You know, you got the third. You got the third. Is the third one? Is that a good one or a bad one?
The third one here.
The third. It's like an aspect.
Which one?
If you count,
in this house.
Yeah, if you count from 3 times from. You know, the planet Saturn's in the 12th, isn't
it?
How many? Does it do anything to the second house? Because that's the
perfect. Great question.
Thing, isn't it?
Right. So I put Venus in her second house on the day they got married. So, yes, another beautiful signature. So Saturn here is sextiling Venus, and because there aren't any stressful connections, this is longevity again.
Yeah, long marriage.
Yeah,
isn't it?
longevity.
Ah.
And the beauty is, because Saturn is sextiling, it's kicking off the trine. Harmonious. This is like, oh, beautiful. And here we go again. We have the sun, it kicks off her moon. So her sun and her moon, and the marriage of her and David, harmonious. Longevity, because of Saturn, sextile Venus, that was transiting on the day they got married. That's linked to their future direction.
Yeah.
So this just gives you a snapshot. You know, there are so many configurations. There's you can read like hundreds of different things in
Yeah,
there.
but does the Saturn affect what she eats at that time? At one time, could it manifest in a negative way? Because if the second sign, isn't it? Remember you mentioned.
Yeah,
that
so
the second house is ruled by Taurus or Venus.
which is the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends on the planet. Depends when she had it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what planet possibly was in here. Yeah. Then you could be looking at, because Saturn is about the body structure as well. It's about bones. So it would depend upon,
Limitation.
you know, is she limiting? Also, don't forget, the south node, if the south node, like the south node here, is making a perfect sextile to Venus. So maybe David's somebody from her past that they were so happy, they said, oh, we're going to do it again.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because there are no stressful aspects. It's all so, it's like, oh, it's you. We're going to do it again.
But I mean, in my opinion, you know, I think that with very significant soul connections like that, when you look back into the Akashic record, you can see that people live lifetime upon lifetime upon lifetime together.
Yeah.
And these
You know,
ones are
there's soul
happy.
conne-
Yeah.
soul
How do you
connections.
see the Akashic records like astrology? How do you see it?
So Akashic record is, do you guys know what the Akashic is? Okay, so the Akashic record is basically the history of your soul, and it's carried within you. It's like an energetic resonance, basically, looking back into the lifetimes that you have lived. And you access it through meditation.
Oh.
Yeah, through meditation, but there's loads of other ways. Like, you know, you can use cards. Sometimes I use cards. I dowse as well to access certain information about souls and about myself.
Beautiful.
So yeah, but
Anything for self-understanding?
But it kind of, see, this is beautiful because this to me is the potential of the life level. But when you look at the South Node, you know, that's where you're carrying in the karma. That's where you may need to go a little bit further back to correct the patterns.
Yeah,
There's there's some synergy there between the both.
The two modalities. Yeah. Yeah. So I personally don't know how far back it goes.
Yeah. But then, it made sense to me that it would just be the stuff that was, like I said, the most binding, the most significant. So for me, for example, in this lifetime, I had karma to resolve around, I'll be open, like sex. Because I lived lifetimes, being repressed and oppressed as a woman, basically. So that for me, in this lifetime, it was very important that I set that correct. And, I didn't have a voice. So again, like speaking my truth is really important to me. Coming out as a healer, and saying this, this is what I do. Yeah.
That's why I say to people, I announce it, I'm an astrologer, because I need to be visible to people who need me. I don't.
Yeah.
That's it.
If you're hiding, they can't see you.
They can't see me.
No.
Yeah.
They can't find
So
you.
I really get that.
Yeah.
And plus I'm a geek, so I'm a techie as well. So when I say that I'm a rookie software engineer and an astrologer, well, you can just imagine, what have we got here? I did a talk last year.
So I would probably guess that you're a starseed.
What's a starseed?
So starseed is somebody that's lived many, many lifetimes on other galaxies.
Oh,
And
yeah.
starseed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Well, did
Yeah.
you come here by random.
So
That's why you're so
she's
different, isn't it?
got a mission. She's
Yeah,
got a purpose,
yes, yeah.
and that's what it is.
That's
So
what it
she's
is. I'm
found that-
definitely, because I live like a multi-potentialite. I'm not
Yeah.
one thing. And what's helped me harmonise my inner world is because I own all the different parts of me. And it's like, this is who I am. This is the vehicle that I'm now driving. Not that I drive. But this is the shell. Yeah, this is the umbrella. This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is the vessel that it's all coming
It
into.
all comes in, yeah, and then all I'm doing is building a world around it. So I was compelled to bring astrology to the public. I've got my little YouTube channel, I have clients, but it's like the message was very strong for me this year. I've got to bring it to the wide world. And on that note, lovely ladies, that's it, unless you've got any other questions.
No, because we could be here all day.
Yeah.
I know!
Get us out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure. Karina, could you just do the honours and switch it off? And wonderful. Just press it. Just press that one.